topic of ecology, pollution and conservation deals primarily with differences between terms like ecology and environment sciences. What is hot ecology and syn ecology? It also distinguishes between studies of ecosystem, communities and populations. And primarily in the context of ecosystems, what is a food web and what is a food chain? What do you understand primarily by pyramids, biomagnification, as well as it also touches upon certain factors related to pollution and conservation strategies with focus on maybe national parks and biosphere reserves. We go on to question number 1. Which of these is an edaphic factor? A. Soil, B. Light, C. Rainfall, D. Wind. When you take edaphic relates to soil. Now, soils are very important because soil is a natural resource. And soil primarily is made up of humus and colloids. Humus is the basis for recycling and also for the basis for nutrients. Thereby, presence of humus and capture of nutrients and soil as a natural resource is very important, and soil plays a very important component in an ecosystem. So, among the choices, answer is A, edaphic factor. Question 2. Temperature changes in the environment affect most of the animals which are A. poikilothermic, B. aquatic, C. homeothermic, D is desert living. Whenever we are talking in terms of temperature, and changes in temperature which affect animals, most of the species in the animal kingdom which are poikilothermic, that is, which can seasonally adjust initially, they are subjected to any sort of a variations. Hence, among the choices, the answer is A, that is poikilothermus. Question number 3. A branch of ecology which is concerned with the study of individual species at all stages of the life cycle in relation to the environment is called A. Syn ecology, B. Ecological niche, C. Reproductive ecology, D is hot ecology. When we are studying a single species, and looking at the species in terms of all stages of its life cycle, in relation to, in the context of the environment, that is, we are dealing with relation to organism and its relation to the environment, environment in relation to the organism. We are talking about a single species. Whenever we deal with a single species in ecology, it is primarily termed as hot ecology. Organism in relation to the environment. Whereas, when you take community ecology is called syn ecology. When you take syn ecology, deals with communities. Whereas, if you take an ecological niche, niche is a place or the address of a species, where it resides, what it does. So, niche is primarily indicates the address of a species. The right answer among the choices is D, that is hot ecology. Answer is D. Question number 4. The lowermost layer of atmosphere in which man and other living organisms exist is called A. stratosphere, B. mesosphere, C. thermosphere, D is called troposphere. When we take the earth, On the earth, the mantle of the earth where living organisms exist is termed as biosphere. Biosphere is a place where living forms exist. Just above the biosphere, the first 20 kilometers is primarily termed as a trophosphere. So, trophosphere is very important because it maintains the sort of a climate around the earth. So, trophosphere, answer is D, where there is maximum interaction. So, if we are looking in terms of interaction between humans, nature, technology and pollution, in terms of greenhouse gases or global warming or afforestation or high levels of pollution, we need to track the changes which occur in the trophosphere. The answer is D. Question number 5. The term ecology was coined by A. Writer, B. Tansley, C. Haeckel, D. Odum. Ecology primarily deals with the study of the discourse related to primarily eco, that is normal living forms. And ecology, the term has been proposed by Writer first initially. The first discovery was Writer. Later on we have Tansley who tried to develop the concept of ecology. And Haeckel primarily is related to populations. Odum is very famous with relation to writing of a book called The Fundamentals of Ecology. The right answer is Writer. Answer is A. Question number 6. Edaphology is A. Study of elephants, B. Study of snakes, C. Study of amphibians, D. None of the above. When you take edaphology, edaphology deals with soils and soil processes. That is the formation of soils and the conservation of soils. Hence, the right choice here is under 6, it is D, that is none of the above. Question number 7. Population density of terrestrial organisms is measured in terms of individuals per A. meter cube, meter to the power of 4, B, C. meter, D is meter square. Whenever we are dealing with relation to pop density, that is population density, of terrestrial organisms, like if you take grass, and we want to measure grass, we measure it in terms of meter square, that is a square meter. The number of grass species which is present in a meter square is primarily a measure of the population density. Hence, the choice is D, that is meter square, and the answer is D. And this method of measurement is termed as quadrant technique. Number 8. In the sigmoid curve, growth curve given in the side by the side of the alphabets indicate the correct sequence of events. Choose the correct option when the alphabet specifies the event. We have a growth versus a time graph, and we have points as A, B, C and D. Now kindly look at the options. Option A is, you have got as A is called the phase of slow growth, B is called the phase of exponential growth, C is called phase of diminishing growth, and D is called a stationary growth. In option B, we have A is rapid growth, B is phase of diminishing growth, C is stationary phase and D is phase of slow growth. Then again we have option C, A is diminishing growth, B exponential growth, C is slow growth and D is stationary growth. And again we have got option D where it says A is stationary growth, B is phase of slow growth, C is phase of rapid growth and D is phase of diminishing growth. When you look at the options, option number A is the right answer, wherein initially this is the phase of initial growth, then there is a phase of exponential growth, then later on we have a stationary phase and it is followed by a plateau. The answer is A. Question number 9. Food chain is the A, large number of human beings forming a human chain, B, a series of different food items, C, transfer of food and energy from green plants to other organisms, and D, large number of animals near a source of food. When we take a food chain, the term food chain is used in ecology primarily relating to the transfer of food and the transfer of energy. It relates to energy transfer and food transfer from the producers. The producers are the green plants to other organisms, like it could be from producers to consumers and so on and so forth. So, predominantly plants are called the producers of the green plants, and the solar energy which is trapped moves along this line. So, energy flow is always unidirectional. Remember that energy can be dissipated, whereas when you take food, food also primarily in the form of calories moves along a chain of events. It goes from A to B to D, A, B, C, D. Thereby, the transfer of food and energy from green plants to other organisms is primarily termed as the concept of the food chain, and the answer is C. Question number 10. Deciduous forests are characterized by A, presence of a variety of grasses growing together, B, presence of a variety of crocodiles, C, presence of very narrow leaf trees growing together, and D, presence of broad leaf trees growing together. When you take forests, in forests we have got different types. We have deciduous forests, we have coniferous forests, we have tropical forests, and we also have winter forests which are termed as boreals. So, if you take deciduous forests, which is common in India, in deciduous forests there is lot of leaf fall, or there is accumulation of lot of litter. And in deciduous forests, normally the trees have broad based leaves. Which can capture solar energy. So, presence of broad based trees is a characteristic feature of all deciduous forests. The answer is D. Question number 11. In a forest ecosystem, the fungi come under the category of A, tertiary consumers, B, primary producers, C, decomposers, D, secondary consumers. Whenever we take an ecosystem, in an ecosystem we have the producers, next we have the consumers, and third we have the decomposers. So, normal producers in a forest ecosystem, the producers are the trees. The trees are in turn eaten by the consumers. That is, it could be a small sort of a consumer like a sort of an insect, or even the sort of an animals, or we can have a sort of a deer which is for feeding on the fallen leaf. So, the consumers are primarily herbivores. Any dead material from both the trees as well as any remnant of the herbivores, like if you take litter or you take a log of wood, otherwise you take any animal faces, all of these are acted upon by the decomposers. So, decomposers act on waste which is present on the forest floor, and thereby from the forest floor the decomposers, they break down complex substances into simpler substances. They can break down and also reorganize. So, the most common decomposers which are present in a forest ecosystem are the fungi. If fungi are absent in a forest ecosystem, there cannot be recycling, and thereby there cannot be the liberation of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur and phosphorus. So, the most important recycling units in the forest are the fungi. The most important trapping units in the forest are the green plants which trap carbon. So, carbon trapping, so that is why forests are primarily termed as the lungs of the ecosystem, and fungi or decomposers are very much needed, especially for recycling. When you take a tropical ecosystem, in a tropical ecosystem there is more better efficient recycling when compared to that of a temperate ecosystem. So, thereby it is important to preserve tropical rainforests, and in the tropical rainforest there is maximum biological diversity, that is variety and variability of the living forms. Hence, the answer here is, you got fungi, the answer is C. Question number 12. In India, tropical rainforests are found in A. Andamans, B. Darjeeling, C. Jammu and Kashmir, D. Karnataka. Normally, the tropical rainforest are present on either side of the equator, wherein there is high rainfall as well as high humidity, along with abundant sunshine. Among the choices, we have it like if we take the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is the place with relation to, it is a repository of the genetic diversity of India, and all the most important forest trees are present in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It is an important example of the TRFs. Now, tropical rainforests, TRFs, are one of the largest ecosystems. Hence, the answer is A. Question number 13. The pyramid of energy in a pond ecosystem is always A. irregular, B. linear, C. upright, D. inverted. When we deal with pyramid of energy, that is the total energy content. If you take the pond, in the pond the pyramid of energy is always, it is upright. This is the meaning of the term upright. When you say upright, it primarily indicates that when we take the autotrophs, the autotrophs have the highest amount of energy. Then we have the algae being fed by the insects. So, these are primarily called as, you have them as carnivores, and then you have the decomposers. So, the maximum energy content is trapped in the phytoplanktons which is present in the pond. So, this indicates that the pyramid of energy is always upright, hence the answer is C. Question number 14. Phytoplanktons of a pond ecosystem act as A. decomposers, B. producers, C. secondary consumers, D. primary consumers. In a pond ecosystem, phytoplanktons predominantly include algae, which are free floating. They can trap the solar energy and function in photosynthesis. So, being carbon trappers, they are termed as producers, and they are the first link in the food chain, as an integral part of the pond ecosystem. The right answer is B. producers. Question number 15. The role of nitrifying bacteria in nitrogen cycle is to A. convert ammonia to nitrates, B. fix atmospheric nitrogen, C. convert ammonia to nitrogen, D. convert amino acids into ammonia. When we take the nitrogen cycle, in the nitrogen cycle, we have especially nitrifying bacteria which are responsible for conversion of ammonia into nitrates. So, any bacteria which converts ammonia into nitrates and subsequently into nitrites, these are primarily termed as nitrifying bacteria. Whereas, those which help in fixing the sort of a nitrogen are the nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium. Then again, we have certain bacteria which can convert the ammonia back to nitrogen by denitrification. And later on, we also have microorganisms which can convert the amino acids RCH, NH2, COH into ammonia. So, nitrifying bacteria have primarily the role of converting ammonia to nitrites. Hence, the answer is A. Question number 16. A snake feeding on a rat is an example of A. tertiary consumer and secondary consumer, B. primary consumer and herbivore, C. secondary consumer and primary carnivore, and D. primary consumer and secondary carnivore. When you have a snake which feeds on a rat, and rat in turn eats the sort of a grass. So, this method of feeding or the trophic level of nutrient uptake is primarily an example of snake is an example of a secondary consumer or a secondary consumer which in turn eats a primary carnivore. So, grass is taken by rats and rats are in turn taken by the snakes. So, this is an example of both primary carnivore as well as a secondary consumer. The answer is C. Question number 17. A rat feeding on a potato tuber is A. decomposer, B. producer, C. primary consumer, D. carnivore. When we have a potato tuber which is a plant and we have a rat eating this. So, this is the producer, and primarily the rat which feeds on this is termed as the first consumer, hence it is called a primary consumer. The choice answer is C. Question number 18. The lentic ecosystem includes which of the following water? A. Standing water, B. Rain, C. Gravitational water, D. Running water. When you take an ecosystem, ecosystems which are aquatic can be categorized into two types. We have lentic ecosystems as well as lotic ecosystems. Now, lentic ecosystems are standing water ecosystems, whereas lotic ecosystems are flowing water ecosystems. So, any sort of a standing water ecosystem is predominantly called as sort of a lentic ecosystem. The answer is E. Question number 19. This is an example of an inverted pyramid. A. Pyramid of energy in a pond ecosystem. B. Pyramid of number in a grassland ecosystem. C. Pyramid of biomass in a pond ecosystem. And D. Pyramid of biomass in a grassland ecosystem. When we take ecological pyramids, it is an ecological pyramid is a graphic representation of either biomass or energy or nutrients in an ecosystem. So, it is asked, now when we take ecological pyramids, we have it as two types. We have it as a sort of an upright pyramid, or it could be a sort of a inverted pyramid. An inverted pyramid is just T-like. So, we have among the choices, what is an example of an inverted pyramid? Now, in an inverted pyramid, primarily when you take pond, in the case of a pond ecosystem, we have more of producers on the top. That is, we have most of the algae, and also we have most of the hydrophytes. The water plants are present in the outer layer. So, this is primarily called the sort of a green zone. So, the pyramid of biomass, when you are talking in terms of biomass, that is weight. The weight of the algae and the hydroplanktons are more when compared to the weight of the microorganisms which are present at the bottom, which is called the brown belt. Thereby, because the biomass is more, you represent in terms of the pyramid of the biomass, you represent it this way. This indicates producers. Next, we have the consumers. Then next, we have the decomposers. The pyramid is inverted. So, this is called an inverted pyramid of biomass, and the answer is C. Question number 20. Which type of the following ecological pyramid are never inverted? A. Pyramid of dried biomass. B. Pyramid of energy. C. Pyramid of biomass. D. Pyramid of number. So, always when you take the pyramids of energy, it is always upright. The meaning of this is always from solar energy. It has got to go to the producers, then it has got to come to the consumers, then it has got to come to the decomposers. Thereby, when plants trap solar energy, they trap lot of solar energy. Then later on we have the consumers, and later on we have the sort of a decomposers. So thereby this particular pyramid of energy is never inverted, but it's always upright. The answer is B. Question number 21. In a comparative study of grass ecosystem and pond ecosystem, it may be observed that A, the biotic components are almost similar, B, the abiotic components are almost similar, C, primary and secondary consumers are similar, D, both biotic and abiotic components are different. When you take a grassland ecosystem, and on the other side we take a pond ecosystem, we understand when you take the producers, consumers and the decomposers, in a grassland ecosystem versus a pond ecosystem are very much varied. Same is the case with relation to abiotic components. When you take the abiotic components, like you take the temperature, you take the relative humidity, the sunlight and the soil, as well as the water and pH. When we take the biotic components, and we also take the abiotic components, in both the cases the pond as well as the grasslands, they are very much different. Ponds, we have the algae. In grasslands, we have the grasses. Consumers, in ponds, we have smaller microorganisms like a fish. Whereas consumers in a grassland could be maybe a sort of a rabbit or a snake and a grasshopper. And when you take the decomposers in water are the aquatic microorganisms, whereas the decomposers in the grassland include in the soils, they include the fungi and also the sort of bacteria. So here we have got aquatic bacteria, here we got terrestrial bacteria. Hence there is a sort of variation between the biotic and the abiotic components, and similar is the case with relation to variations in temperature, relative humidity, sunlight, soil, water and pH between both the things. The right answer is D, that is both biotic and abiotic components are different. The answer is D. Question number 22. These belong to the category of primary consumers. When you say A is snakes and frogs, B is water and insects, C is eagles and snakes, D is insects and cattle. When you take primary consumers, primary consumers are basically herbivores. That is, they feed on plants. In a food chain, primary consumers feed on plants. So the commonest insects which feed on plants include the sort of an insects. We have the insects which feed on the plant, and again we have the cattle which eats. So cattle and insects are examples of primary consumers. The answer is D. Question number 23. The pyramid of energy is always upright for an ecosystem. The situation indicates the fact that A, producers have the lowest energy conversion efficiency, B, carnivores have a better energy conversion efficiency than herbivores, C, energy conversion efficiency is the same in all trophic levels, D is herbivores have a better energy conversion efficiency than carnivores. Now, whenever we take the pyramid of energy, it primarily relates to uptake of food and conversion of food, and the conversion of food need to be in terms of energy efficiency or ATP taken in. So, when we take the primary consumers are the herbivores. So, herbivores have a better energy conversion efficiency when compared to the carnivores. A simple case is those people who have a vegetarian diet are more energetic than meat eating people, because when if you are a herbivore, if you take the if you are eating the products from the plant kingdom, the energy which you consume is very, very high. The energy which you take, uptake of the energy and what your body mass has, it has got more energy, whereas when compared to that of a sort of a meat eater, when you take a meat eater, the meat eater gains actually less energy, because he takes it from the sort of a grass, it goes to the meat level. So, the very important concept is herbivores have higher energy efficiency. When you say energy efficiency, it means energy conversion efficiency. Now, conversion occurs between the producers to the consumers in terms of energy transfer. So, herbivores are more efficient than carnivores, hence the answer is D. Question number 24. Which of the following is called a detrivore? A. An animal feeding on decaying organic matter. B. An animal feeding on a plant. C. Plant feeding on an animal. D. An animal feeding on another animal. Whenever we have any animal feeding on decayed organic matter, it is primarily termed as a detrivore. In the word detrivore, D comes from decaying organic matter. Hence, any animal which feeds on waste material or organic matter which is decayed is primarily the particular animal is termed as a detrivore. The answer is E. 25. Question number 25. The fuel wood crisis can be overcome by A. Efficient wood extraction. B. Better wood stores. C. Using solar energy. D. Greater afforestation. Now, primarily we have a fuel wood crisis. A fuel wood crisis occurs because there is logging. Or you call it as inappropriate logging. Due to the inappropriate logging, we have the fuel wood crisis. Now, the fuel wood crisis can be overcome or prevented by A. Not efficient wood extraction, not better wood stores, but seeking an alternative. The alternative to fuel wood crisis of cooking is to use solar energy. We live in a world of alternatives. So, it is not that greater afforestation, but the right answer is solar energy. The answer is C. Question number 26. Soil conservation is a practice in which A. The soil is protected from being carried away by wind and water. B. The soil is well aerated. C. Soil fertility is enhanced. D. Soil erosion is allowed. When we take soil conservation, soil conservation relates to practices where we see to that the soil is prevented from erosion. That is, there should be no soil erosion. That is, the topsoil should not be carried off by wind or water. If you prevent the topsoil from going up, you are doing soil conservation. So, if you are protecting the topsoil, protection of the topsoil from wind and water is a practice which is primarily termed as soil conservation. So, here the choice A is right. It is protected from being carried by wind and water. Answer is A. Question number 27. Which of the following is an agrostologic method of soil conservation? A. Basin listing. B. Terracing. C. Dry farming and mulching. D. Growing cynodon between rows of crops. The meaning of the term agrostology means using an agricultural practice. So, among these, especially when you use for soil conservation, if we use cynodon dactylon, cynodon dactylon is the common doob grass which is used in tropical countries. So, if we grow this grass between crops, if you have a crop and in between crops we grow cynodon dactylon, it is helpful with relation to soil conservation. So, the answer is D. So, presence of native grasses in the natural habitat is a very important method of soil conservation. If we have invasive grasses, if we have grasses coming from some other country and we try to use the invasive grasses in natural habitats, it results in spread of diseases. So, a natural grass like cynodon dactylon or doob grass is a very important soil binder. And it prevents topsoil erosion. Answer is D. Question number 28. Increase in the concentration of pollutants in higher trophic levels is called A. Biodegradation, B. Recycling, C. Biomagnification, D. Eutrophication. Whenever pollutants and their concentration increases, especially in higher trophic levels, where the nutrient energies are more high, this process of pollution concentration in a food chain is termed as biomagnification. Common example is the DDT, or even you have different pesticide residues. The answer is C. Question number 29. The term biomagnification refers to the A. Growth of organisms due to food consumption, B. Increase in population size, C. Increase in concentration of non-degradable pollutants, D. Blowing up of environmental issues by man. Whenever we have increase in concentration of non-degradable, when you say non-degradable, it means we have persistent or we have residual. Otherwise, we call it as accumulative. Pollutants in the food chain. This again is termed as biomagnification. So, in biomagnification always the pesticide residues are present. Hence, the answer is C. Question number 30. The phenomenon where the pollutants pass in higher concentrations through the food chains and accumulate to the maximum in the final consumer is called A. Biological magnification, B. Eutrophication, C. Biogeochemical cycle, D. Biological degradation. Whenever we have pollutants and the pollutants accumulate, they accumulate in the final consumer. This again is termed as primarily biological magnification, hence the answer is A. 31. Which of the following is most dangerous metal pollutant of automobile exhaust? A is copper, B is cadmium, C is lead, D is mercury. Whenever we take automobile exhausts, are rich in lead. So, lead combines with oxygen as well as it also combines with carbon monoxide and causes respiratory problems. So, the most toxic element in automobile exhaust is primarily lead, and to remove lead from an automobile exhaust you use a catalytic converter. The answer is C. Question number 32. The result of ozone hole is A. Acid rain, B. Global warming, C. UV radiations reach the earth, D. The greenhouse effect. The question asks, what is the consequence of the ozone hole? When we have an ozone hole in the troposphere, ozone penetrates and due to this UV effects, ultraviolet radiations reach the earth, and UV can affect humans, plants, animals, aquatic life. Preferably they cause cancer of the skin, and as well as they also cause loss of vision because it interacts with the cataract, and there is loss of immunity. So, because of UV effect there is negative immunity, more of skin lesions, and there is also disturbance in the aquatic food chain. So, one very important consequence of loss of the ozone hole is penetration of the UV radiations. The answer is C. Question number 33. Which of the following gases contributes to global warming? A. Carbon dioxide, B. Nitrogen dioxide, C. Carbon monoxide, D. Sulfur dioxide. When you look at the choices, the one single gas which contributes to global warming is the build-up of carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide gets concentrated in the atmosphere, it results in the formation of global warming. High carbon dioxide content, whereas nitrogen relates to air pollution, carbon monoxide and sulfuric acid, carbon monoxide again with automobile pollution, sulfur dioxide with relation to acid rain. So, carbon is a basic culprit, hence we talk in terms of the carbon footprint. The answer is A. Question number 34. Loss of forests, urbanization, increasing pollution are due to A. Global warming, B. Greenhouse effect, C. Population explosion, D. Ozone depletion. Whenever we look in terms of changes, that is always changes are because of humans, and human involved changes are termed as anthropogenic changes. So, due to anthropogenic effects, primarily which is contributed by population explosion, that is the high intensity of the people per unit area is termed as population explosion, and increase in population in time, which is very common in India and in China. So, this has led to primarily global warming. That is, there is a link between population and global warming. More of carbon in terms of methane gas, and it has led to more of urbanization due to migration, etc., and more of affluence, and thereby it has led to increasing pollution. So, always in environmental issues there is a link between a cause and an effect predominantly. So, we can interrelate loss of forests in case we cut the forests leads to barren lands, more of carbon getting accumulated in the atmosphere, urbanization, more of pollution, and all these are primarily due to the effect of one single reason is population explosion. Thereby, if we want to plan for sustainable development, in sustainable development, the lesser the number and the more the sort of a natural resource, the better is the sort of an offshoots from, so that we avoid the sort of a carbon deficit or our carbon footprint becomes very less in developing countries. The answer here is population explosion, that is the answer is C. Question number 35. Which are the primary constituents of photochemical smog? A. Carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. B. Hydrocarbons and CFCs. C. Sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. D. Nitrogen dioxide and hydrocarbons. Nitrogen dioxide given off from industries as well as hydrochemicals which are given off from petrochemical compounds, they in turn interact in the air in the presence of light and they release free radicals. The free radicals are H plus ions and again O minus, as well as it also gets converted to O3. This, in addition to this, we also have free nitrogens. So, all of these are components of the photochemical smog. When it combines with water, that is when there is more of humidity. Hence, the answer is nitrogen dioxide and hydrocarbons. Answer is D. Question number 36. Bhopal tragedy of 1984 was caused by the leakage of the gas A. Methyl isocyanate, B. 2,4-dichlorophenoacetic acid, C. Ammonia, D is hydrogen cyanide. Always Bhopal gas tragedy is associated with methyl isocyanide. Methyl isocyanate which is a byproduct of the ammonia industry for fertilizers. The answer is A. Question number 37. The World Environment Day is celebrated on A. 5th May, 6th August, C is 5th June, D is 6th June. World Environment Day is primarily celebrated on 5th June, which is the starting point for the first conference of the United Nations Environmental Programme and UNESCO program, which highlighted the need for conservation. So, 5th June is the normal day when the world celebrates the Environment Day. The answer is C. Question number 38. Greenhouse effect is a cumulative result of the influences of certain gases. Identify the gas which is not involved in the influence. We have A is methane, B is chlorofluorocarbons, C is nitrogen, D is carbon dioxide. Greenhouse gases include methane. They also include chlorofluorocarbons, which is basically freon, and also include carbon dioxide. So, methane, which is got from rice fields, chlorofluorocarbons, which are got from freons, carbon dioxide, which is exhaust from automobile exhausts, as well as from industrialization, are the basic greenhouse gases which are present in the primarily around the sort of an urban environment. So, the odd person is nitrogen, hence the answer is C. 39. Checking of re-radiation heat by atmospheric dust, ozone, CO2 and water vapors is A. Greenhouse effect, B. Solar effect, C. Ozone layer effect, D. Radioactive effect. Whenever we have solar energy falling on the earth, on the mantle, there is always a part of the solar radiation which is reflected. It is reflected back, and the same reflected back is again re-radiated. It is caught in the ozone layer and it is re-radiated. So, we have a built up or a sort of a heat insulation. We have a heat insulation which is trapped by the ozone layer, and this causes warming up internally, just like how we warm up food in a pressure cooker. It causes internal heat block in a sort of in the earth due to ozone, carbon dioxide and water vapors, which trap in the sort of a solar energy. So, this effect is primarily termed as the greenhouse effect. Answer is A. It stimulates plants which are growing in a sort of a greenhouse, wherein we have got the sort of a glass barriers of the windows which trap the solar energy and do not allow the sort of a solar energy or the heat energy to move out of the sort of a greenhouse. Question number 40. Which of the following is not a greenhouse gas? A. Methane, B. Oxygen, C. Water vapor, D. Carbon monoxide. The one odd non-greenhouse gas is oxygen, hence the answer is B. Question number 41. What are the large undisturbed areas where wildlife is protected in its natural habitat? A. Biosphere reserves, B. National parks, C. Sacred landscapes, D. Wildlife sanctuaries. Wherever we have wildlife and they are present in their natural habitats, without human interference, these sites are known as biosphere reserves. A very common biosphere reserve in South India is we have the sort of a Nilgiri biosphere reserve, or we have the Himalayan biosphere reserve, and similarly we have the Valley of Flowers biosphere reserve, wherein primarily the most important thing is there is no human interference and the wildlife is preserved in the natural habitat. So, among the choices of A. Biosphere reserve, B. National parks, C. Sacred landscapes and 4. Wildlife sanctuaries, the answer is A. Question number 42. Establishment of national parks and sanctuaries is a strategy for A. Conservation of wildlife, B. Creating awareness about wildlife, C. Preventing wild animals eating villages, and D. Studying wildlife biology. Whenever we have a national park or we have a sanctuary, the objective of a national park and sanctuary is conservation of wildlife. Hence, the answer is A. Question number 43. Dash is a national park in Karnataka. A we have is Brahmagiri, B we have Shravati Valley, C we have Kudremukh, and D we have Dandeli. Where we had the Kudremukh project. The Kudremukh project primarily relates to ore mining. And this was the same area where we had the presence of the rhesus monkey. And the same area forms a part of the national park, whereby there is conservation of plants from the Western Ghats. So, we have the Silent Valley National Park near to the place of Kudremukh. The answer is C. 44. Remove the non-existing program from the given list. We have A is Project Tiger, then B is Project Rhino, C is Project Cheetah, and D is Project Hungal. If you take the Ministry of Environment and Forests, primarily they have been having different plans about conservation of a sort of a wild species in its natural habitat. The first of the projects that has been initiated towards conservation in India is termed as Project Tiger, because if we preserve a tiger, we preserve the tiger habitat, that is the ecosystem. So, Project Tiger is a very successful sort of a conservation measure which has occurred at the Corbett National Park. Then we have Project Rhino, which has occurred at the Kaziranga National Park at Assam. Project Cheetah is yet to be established, and Project Hungal is crocodile banking. So, the odd or the non-existing program from the given list is C, that is Project Cheetah. Question number 45. Which of the following sanctuaries or national parks is recognized for Project Tiger? We have A is Dandeli, B Periyar, then we have got Dajingam, and D is Bhadra Wildlife Sanctuary. Project Tiger is always associated in South India with Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary. Answer is B. Question number 46. Western Ghats come under hotspot category because of A. High elevation, B. Tropical climate, C. Evergreen forests, D. High endemism. When we deal with biological hotspot for conservation, hotspot is an area which occurs especially in areas of high endemism. Endemism means restricted natural occurrence. Of a species or a population with relation to their natural habitat. So, when you take the Western Ghats, the Western Ghats is supposed to be a hotspot due to high endemism. That is, we have restricted natural occurrence of very rare and threatened plants as well as butterflies and other sort of animals. So, the answer is D. Question number 47. The national park associated with conservation of rhinoceros is A. Kaziranga National Park, Ranthambore, C. Corbett National Park, and D is Gir Forests. When you take Ranthambore, Corbett and Gir, they are all the sort of a national parks associated with the conservation of the tiger. Whereas when you take Kaziranga National Park, it is associated with rhinoceros. Hence, the answer is A. Question number 48. The largest ecosystem is A. Forest ecosystem, B. Marine ecosystem, C. Pond ecosystem, D. Grassland ecosystems. When you take global ecosystems, we understand on planet Earth, 75% of Earth is made up of water. Consequently, marine ecosystems are the largest ecosystems which are present on earth. And next to marine we have the forest ecosystems. So the right answer is B, that is marine ecosystems.